Not every great piece of music will be discovered or loved, even by an artist's own fanbase. And that sentiment applies to Ado as well. On September 6, 2023, Ado released one of her most popular songs, Show. The song currently has over 200 million views on YouTube, almost 200 million streams on Spotify, and was featured in the animated MLB promo video this season.
The path of legend is laid before them. Who will emerge victorious? The world awaits.
However, the success of Show completely overshadowed another single she released only 2 weeks later on September 18, which just so happens to be my favorite Ado song of all time. In this video, I'm going to talk about one of Ado's most unique yet criminally underrated songs, Dignity. Dignity was probably my most anticipated Japanese song ever when it was announced, because it was written and produced by Bizu. For those who don't know Bizu, they are a Japanese rock duo made up of lead singer Inaba Koshi and guitarist Matsumoto Takahiro. The legendary duo is arguably the most successful artist in Japanese music history. They're the best-selling artists of all time in Japan, and hold an insane record of 50 straight #1 singles, spanning across 4 decades, all the way back from 1990 to 2023. So when it was announced that Bizu was providing a song for Ado, I knew it had the potential to be something special, and Dignity did not disappoint. Most of Ado's songs are provided by producers with Vocaloid backgrounds, so musically you can tell they're more or less in the same vein, which works really well with her singing style. But with Dignity being produced and composed by Matsumoto Takahiro, who's also the producer and composer of Bizu, the song has a more authentic J-rock sound that we haven't really heard in Ado's music yet. And that applies to Ado's singing as well. With one of Japan's best producers and vocalists at the helm, Dignity showcased a different side of Ado's vocal and emotional range that we've barely seen before. When I think of ballads in Ado's discography, where she's more soft-spoken and not driven by negativity, The World's Continuation is the first that comes to mind. It was the first time she showed she had the capability and capacity to perform a slower song that isn't vocally coded like Usewa or Odo, just a good old-fashioned ballad, but you can still sense a bit of inexperience in her performance. Fast forward to Dignity. Her growth as a singer and a person can be felt even just by hearing the very first verse. The breathiness and fragility in her voice, plus the emotional weight it carries, are qualities you hardly ever hear in her older songs. But why is that? Part of it comes down to the type of songs she usually sings, which don't often require such delicacy. Another reason is production. Since Ado is fundamentally a utaite, the dynamic between her and many of her producers is basically they present the songs and lyrics to her, and she delivers them, kind of like Hatsune Miku. But with Bizu, you can tell they're helping Ado explore new vocal techniques that allow her to channel emotions in a more nuanced manner, and that's something I think she lacked in her repertoire before, which makes sense considering how young she is. As for the song itself, one thing that separates Matsumoto Takahiro from the other producers is its attention to small vocal details, the kind of inflections and deliveries that elevate the song from good to great. Here are a few examples. In the pre-chorus, the soft whisper of Anata nara carries so much emotion and intimacy that the line "How will you answer" feels like a real, vulnerable question, which was then answered by the chorus. In the final line of the chorus, the rise at the end of Ke, paired with Matsumoto's guitar, is such a great touch. It may not add much to the storytelling, but it just makes the song a bit more pleasant to listen to. And in the second pre-chorus, most producers would have been fine with Ado singing unmei as one continuous word, but by separating the syllables, it brings so much more weight to the word unmei, which perfectly reflects the lyrics. Everything sinks into destiny. Even though Dignity is one of Ado's few ballads, it would be a huge missed opportunity if we don't get to see Ado as a rocker in a song made by Bizu. So leading up to the final chorus, Matsumoto Takahiro added a break to let her belt alongside his guitar. I also want to mention that she took that part to a whole new level during live performances. I really hoped she would include this song in her Hibana tour, but it's underrated for a reason. As for the lyrics of Dignity, they're good, but not groundbreaking or anything. That being said, since it's written by Inaba Koshi, the lead singer and songwriter of Bizu, the lyricism still feels unique in a way that only Bizu can deliver. So even though it's not necessarily the best song, lyrically speaking, Dignity still stands out as one of the most unique songs in Ado's discography. And that brings us to the question, why is Dignity such an underrated song? The obvious reason is, as I mentioned, that it was completely overshadowed by Show. As much as I love Dignity, there's no denying that Show is one of Ado's biggest bangers, alongside Odo. And in today's day and age, you can't really expect a rock ballad to compete with viral tracks like Show. Now, the more interesting reason is expectations. Some of Ado's original songs may have elements of rock in them, but fundamentally, Ado isn't a rock singer, at least not yet. So for a lot of her fans, songs that lean toward Vocaloid and EDM naturally feels more Ado. It's not about which genre is better. If you fell in love with Utaite Ado, it doesn't mean you're guaranteed to love rocker Ado, and that's totally fair. If Ado suddenly became an opera singer, I'd have a hard time adjusting to it as well. Fortunately, in this case, I'm a fan of J-Rock, and especially Bizu, so Dignity really was the perfect crossover for me. That's why the song had my full attention from the get-go, and allowed me to appreciate every little detail. But for a lot of fans, they might have just shrugged it off as a song that simply didn't connect with them sonically, which is unfortunate, but that happens to everyone, including me. Still, I hope this video helps shine a light on this hidden gem, because there's really nothing else quite like it in Ado's discography. This has been Cushion. See you next time.